This is the quick story time. So I remember one time I was on the bus, me and my sister. So my sister is my sister has she has a mouth on her, bro. Like she
Oh, really?
He talk a lot of smack. So I don't know what the situation was per se that she was arguing with some people, but I do remember. All I do remember is when I took off my headphones and I looked back, she's arguing with about 3 different dudes that I knew. So I get up because it's my sister. I'm not, what I'm saying, I can't just let them sit there and do something to my sister. I get up, I stand in between. The first thing they do is shove me. It wasn't a fight with 3. It was just a one-on-one fight because the minute I swung, the fight was over because they kind of like separated us before we could do anything else. But I do remember that was.
But what were they arguing about?
I honestly have zero clue. All I remember is when I got up and he shoved me. I didn't have
Oh, so he started it?
Well, with me, yeah. I don't know what he started like with my sister. All I remember is when I got up, I got in between them. I guess he took it as a threat. He pushed me, so I swung.
Oh my.
That's just my reaction. Well, that's always gonna be my reaction.
What'd your sister do?
Probably try to fight back too.
Oh, she was fighting too.
Well, she was about to. It's just she was behind me, so she couldn't. If you ever been on a bus, there's only a small aisle, so only one person can fit. So can't really do much after that. Yeah.
Interesting.
That was not a good memory, but it was a pretty good memory. Yeah, I think.
Okay, I think we have a difference of opinion there.
Yeah, that's not a good memory.
Pretty interesting memory.
So, I mean, that's really interesting, and I feel like that story. I mean, you had mentioned when we were talking that you had many similar stories to those.
Oh my God.
Where we see like kind of like an injustice happening, right? We had 3 guys saying something to your sister. We don't know what, but it provoked you to want to defend her and do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Do the right thing, yeah. And defend her, and that's what caused the fight. And so, do we all feel like that would have been the best way to show some justice to your sister?
I mean, I would say for me, the way I use, like right now, I don't think it was. I don't think it is. But back then, I think it was. Like the way my mentality back then, like a few years ago, for me, that would have been justice. For me is what you're given, you're going to get back.
Okay, yeah, because when we think about justice, sometimes we think it's like payback, like you're getting like what you deserve. And I mean, I was doing a little bit of research, and justice is just like when you get the deserved reward or punishment as a result of behaviors that break or follow the law. So right here, like obviously, like I guess it would be like the moral law in your head, like you don't mess with my sister, right? That's the moral law, and that dude was breaking that law in your head, that moral law, and you were trying to do some justice, right? And punish him for whatever he was saying to your sister.
I mean, the way I see it, because to say that I wouldn't do that now would be a lie. Because the reaction was when I got up and he pushed me, right? In my head, like I'm a person, I don't think twice. When it comes to a situation like that, if I'm in physical danger, sometimes I don't think twice about it. If like I feel like the fight's unpreventable, it's happening one way or another. And I think that was kind of my mentality at the time, and sometimes that could still be my mentality now because I don't think it's justice to fight, but I also don't think it's okay to let people do what they want to you to a certain extent.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't have punched him when he shoved me, but if I'm a person, if I feel the fight's gonna happen, yeah, I don't back down.
At the moment, the just thing to do was to punch him to get some justice for your sister. You think that maybe that wasn't the best thing to do?
Yeah.
What would have been a more just response?
For me, I would just grab my sister and just leave.
Well, you're at a bus. You can't really go anywhere.
Well, you can go either to the front or to the back. So pick your side.
Okay.
And if you go to that side, right, and then for me, let's say that then they punch you or they're gonna punch your sister or something, I can't just let them be like, oh yeah, let me just let them beat my sister up because that's justice. I don't think it's justice either.
Okay.
I think at some point you gotta defend.
So if you leave and they like throw the first punch, you think it would be just if you throw another punch,
Not
like to defend, like self-defense. Call it self-defense.
to defend someone else, yeah.
Okay.
Because if they hit me, I don't really care. I've gotten hit many times.
Okay, so to defend someone else.
I don't.
That's really interesting. So you thought that the just thing to do was to throw the first punch. You think that the just things to do was to just leave. And if they decide to hurt your
because
sister,
the problem is not really with me. Like in that
Right.
situation, that scenario, the problem is not with me. Like they don't have an issue with me. They have an issue, like in that sense, they have an issue with my sister. So
Right.
I think that the best thing I can do is protect.
okay.
Right? And then if I get hit,
But I'm pretty
wouldn't
sure
care.
you thought you were protecting, weren't you?
I mean, all I remember is when I got in the middle, they just immediately shoved me. So I was like, all right, this is what we're doing.
That's so interesting. So what you did, you thought you were doing justice. What you think you would have done, that would be just. And here I am. I'm like, I love talking things out. I love establishing peace. And so I would have
think
been the
you would just
person
cry.
that, okay, yes, Joseph, if you don't know, he's my brother. So right now he's trying to make fun of me live.
No.
But anyway,
That's true.
the point is, I'm a very rational person, and so I love asking questions. I love trying to establish some peace. So what I think would have been the most just thing to do was to talk it out. And I like that. That would have been my version of justice. And so I honestly, guys, think it's really interesting that we have different versions of what making justice would be. And so I think like what this like highlights is that we tend to be terrible judges of what is just and fair after we have been hurt or in a situation where there is some injustice going on. Because right now, we all have different versions of what making justice would have been in that specific situation. Like, I am all for no violence. So I would have not thrown the first punch, or even if they punch, I would have not. I would have done everything in my power to not fight. I would have probably talked it out.
Me too. But sometimes
Yeah, and I get it.
words don't work. People are
I
some
get
people are
it,
just ignorant.
but-
and
Hey,
they don't listen.
I'm
and then,
not
like,
gonna lie.
You can't let them
With
hurt.
they throw the first swing, I'm throwing the next three. Automatic.
Yeah,
If my
and-
life's in danger,
Ooh.
see the way I was raised, right? At least in the environment I was raised. Once that first punch is thrown, right? This is just speculation. 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be a few more after that, and you don't know what extent they're willing to go to, because it could be just a normal, I'm gonna hit you once, walk away, or it could be I really want to hurt this person, and I'm not gonna give you the chance to cause me, physical. Now, if they just push me, maybe give me like one little slap, maybe on a good day, I'm walking away. May.
And I like that you said that because that's called revenge.
Mhm.
That's when you get even and plus. You want that person to you want them to suffer for what you did. You don't just want to get even. You don't want them to just experience what you experience. You want them to experience a little more than that.
I mean, I think that depends, because it's like if you're trying to defend or if you're trying to survive, I wouldn't necessarily call that revenge, because survival of the fittest. If he's trying to really hurt you, then you're trying your best to survive the fight. Because if now, let's put it like this. Let's say I just got beat up, right? What a bad thing to do would be like, okay, this person just beat me up. Let me go get a couple of my friends and jump him. Now that's revenge. Now that's something you shouldn't do. Now, in my opinion, if you have to survive, you survive.
Okay.
Now there is a limit. Like in a fight, there is a limit. Like if let's say you get into a fight, the fight stops, he's not trying to fight no more, then you stop trying to fight too, because at that point you've survived. Now, if he hits you and you're really just trying to hit him over and over again just for the pure fact that this man hit me, he disrespected me, then yeah, that would be revenge. But if you're trying to survive, I think it it depends on your intention. Because some can perceive it as revenge. Sometimes it can be revenge. Sometimes it can be survival. But
Well,
it depends on the
my point
situation.
here is that revenge, what kind of really does is just spread more violence or escalate things. Because think about it. If they punch you once and you're like, okay, I'm gonna punch them 3 times, like now I want you to like really suffer. Now, what do you think his mentality is gonna be, or she?
I don't know. Hopefully they knocked out by the time I.
Nah, not 3.
they're
He
gonna
punched me
wanna-
3 times. Now I'm gonna punch him 10.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's gonna continue escalating.
See, that's why
it's
I
an
said, just
eternal like feud
run.
that yeah.
That's why I just said just get out of the situation.
Yeah. But I mean, you thought that was just, right? So I feel like nothing is being solved when we're talking about revenge here. And it's because like I feel like us as humans, like the fact that we have different versions of what is just, it's because we tend to focus a lot on like the injury when we get hurt. Like we can't think about the person and about trying to restore that relationship. Nah, man. Like you hurt me, and like now I'm just focused on that, and now I want you to get hurt because of my injury, and that's just something that's really interesting about us humans.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I said. Like, oh, ouch. That's what I said to like, take the hits. Sometimes it's better to take the hits than give it.
But some people,
In my opinion.
some people might define that as just being a doormat.
You see, but people have a lot of opinions, and some opinions just aren't the best. So it doesn't matter the opinion that people have, it is the result that it gets you. So if what I'm doing makes you think that I'm a doormat, yet I am getting somewhere with my response and the way I'm doing things, not only I'm protecting someone that I care for, I'm also protecting the others, because even though they're throwing the punches, I'm not. Therefore, they're not getting hurt. You see, taking the hits is like, fine, I'll take the hits, and I say it because this is not my first time that I've done that. And you just take the hits, you move forward, and then at some point, if you can, talk to the person. I've done it before. I got hit in the face multiple times, and then I just didn't care.
So let's talk about like another real life, like unjust situation, like maybe like an abusive relationship.
That's different, bro.
I know, like there's difference in just. Sorry, I said that wrong. Unjust.
Wait, hold on. I said it's different, but it's not that I'm changing my way of like I'm gonna hit that person. No.
Oh, okay.
Nah, I'm petty,
Not at
bro.
all. No, I think like when it comes to that, like to that type of violence, like when there's like stuff like that, like you need to talk.
But so if you're
You
not
need to
getting
talk.
payback, right? You're not trying to hurt the other person like your abuser, because you don't want to increase violence. So the other response, like I feel like there's two, right? We either get payback,
Or you get out.
or we are a doormat. No, we
you
let
get out.
You can.
get
Yeah,
out.
there's always a way
Because
out.
I feel
when
like
you
many
say
people-
doormat, when you say doormat, like a
like
doormat,
you let them step all over you.
exactly. But then
and
if
just
you
do whatever they
leave,
want
there's
with
nothing
you.
to step on.
Yeah.
If you leave, there's nothing to step
And it's
on.
not even necessarily just physical violence. You got to keep in mind that turning the other cheek goes both ways.
Yep.
Because it's like, let's not talk about a fight. Let's talk about this person. Let's say I made plans with a friend, and this certain friend just cancels. Right? They stand me up. Now, even though it's like a small situation, right? Turning the other cheek would be like, all right, you're good. We'll just make plans. We'll replan it. Or you could be real petty. You know what I'm saying? Like I was. And create situations to try to get that person back, like stand them up or put them like to do the same thing back or worse. Because it's not necessarily just about the violence. A lot of times it happens in every aspect. Because it's the same way, like if you're talking about something that you're extremely passionate about, like everybody here is passionate about God. Now, how many times have you been disrespected talking about a faith-based subject with whether it's a person who believes in God but in a different denomination, an atheist? Hell, how many times have you gotten into an argument just about a sport or basketball and it's getting real nasty just because you're arguing about who's the best player, like stuff like that, whether you're willing to really like let it go or be even more petty. Like I said, depends on the day.
I like that you are using petty as like a passive way of revenge, because it is a version of revenge, and many of us don't see that, especially in our society.
I'm King Petty.
I also wanted to mention that you use the phrase "turn the other cheek," and I feel like that's a very it's an old phrase, and the reason why it's an old phrase and we know it is because like Jesus actually said it in one of his like big sermons. He said that we should turn the other cheek, and I feel like a lot of people have used this phrase wrong. Where they say, like in our society, it kind of just sounds like, okay, I've been slapped and now I'm turning the other cheek and I'm going to let you just hurt me again, which is like our version of what we were saying, like being a doormat. And I feel like it would be very necessary for us to talk about like the cultural context when Jesus was saying this during that time. So I'm going to nerd out real quick. Okay. Just bear with me. So during that time period, like this whole like shaming people, like the way that you would do it, they tended to do it with slap. Like that was like an insult to your dignity and to your whole family, really. So how they would do it is if they thought you were someone that was of a lower social rank, then they would slap you with the back of their right hand. They would slap you. There you go. Slap.
I would abuse that, bro. I could never live in that time.
And so if the other person who has just been slapped decides to turn the other cheek, then now the person who's doing the slapping has to slap them with an open hand. And during that time period, slapping someone with an open hand meant that you thought that the person that you were slapping was of your same or equal social rank. And so what that really means is that if you turn the other cheek, you're offering the person that's slapping you a chance for them to reevaluate who you are. You're asking them like, okay, I want you to think better of me. I want you to think of me as an equal, as an equal, rather than as someone who has less value or worth. Because again, like we said, slapping with the back of your hand, that means like you are lower than me. You have less worth than I do. But with an open hand means we are of equal value. And so that is what Jesus was actually getting to. He was teaching the people that were listening to his sermon to find a creative way to do justice in a way to restore the relationship. Because whenever you try to view someone as an equal, you're trying to restore that relationship. And so that's very different from how we tend to define that turn the other cheek phrase. And that is what he was saying, that like that's how we achieve true justice.
Amen.
Yeah, we can let that sit for a little bit.
I mean, I it's just when you said that, one of the first things that came to my head was when he says, like, I think it was like if anyone here like it's perfect, cast the first stone, right?
Yeah, with that it was with an adulterous woman.
Right, and then it comes to show again that reality is that we may see social status, and then we may focus on that, and therefore think that we need to, do the slapping, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not. But reality is that we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same, and that's why when I said my way of justice, it was based on that. It's based on I'm no one to, neither to be getting slapped nor to slap. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be people who are going to hurt. There's always going to be people that are going to see you as less, meaning they want to let everybody know that you are less. Yeah. Right? But for me, the best way to do is just let people think what they want to think. If they want to slap you, just, like as you said, turn the other cheek, let it do it. And if they want to, actually be like, you know what, I was wrong, let that happen too. Let that forgiveness happen.
Mm-hmm. Because forgiveness is that pathway to restoring the relationship.
Exactly.
And it does restoring the relationship. Let's not jump into like a whole forgiveness show, but that doesn't mean that you have to be BFFs again, or like
But
that you
it
have to
wouldn't-
have that same closeness. But at least that relationship is restored. Like you're not going to have that resentment towards them anymore.
And it's not that you're really changing the topic. That is justice. Because that is a justice that Jesus has shown us.
That's
We're
right.
all forgiven. And that's his way of justice. Even through all the things that we have done, he still forgives us. So that is justice. And that truly is what it's supposed to be about.
That's very hard. That way of seeking justice that Jesus is explaining with that turn the other cheek phrase is really hard, especially when we've been hurt or someone that we know has been hurt.
Yeah, because we also want to take control of things. We want to feel secure. We want to feel safe. The moment that we feel like we're in danger, we bring our walls. We put our walls. I've done it. I've done it many times, and you guys know that I've shared my testimony with you guys, and I've shared it here, and I was hurt, and I put up my walls, right, and I got hurt many times, and I wanted to take revenge on the person. I wanted to actually be the one doing the slapping. I wanted to be the one saying, no, I am of higher value. You're the one who's lower than me. I wanted to do that. But through my process, I've learned through Jesus that it is not about me. It is not about who I think I am. It's about who he says I am. And I'm not someone who's greater than anybody. So to bring that type of justice is not on me.
Yeah.
That's for him to take.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Because if we are of like that equal standing with someone else, then who are we to determine what is the true, like, just thing to do? Like earlier, we were giving out different examples of how we would deal with the situation, and they were all very different. And I feel like the one person or one being who can really determine what is just, because they are not of equal standing with us, is God, really.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that Jesus offered us a better option. Rather than payback or being a doormat, we can turn the other cheek and seek for a way to restore that relationship and ask for that person to reevaluate who I am. And like when you think about it, like when you offer that to someone, you're being generous. So like it's an offering. You're giving someone something. I remember that I was listening to a podcast and they talked about this one like disagreement that they had, and someone like insulted them, and their response was very similar to like the turn the other cheek phrase. They said to this person who just like insulted them very ugly, they were like, I want you to think better of me. And like like I feel like that response right there, like it's very similar to what Jesus is trying to say, and it captures it really well. Like that is kind of like the offer that you're giving them. Like, I want you to think better of me. Like that is not who I am. So like reevaluate who you think I am at this time, because that's not me. And I know that it's not like super ideal, like and that's why like you have to think of like a creative way to do that response of turn the other cheek. Because like we said, in a situation like that, like how would you turn the other cheek? In an abusive relationship, how would you turn the other cheek? And that's when you have to get creative. But I think we were given a gift by Jesus. As Christians, like the Holy Spirit, I feel like he can definitely help us be creative there. And if you are not a Christian, then I believe you can still find ways to apply this concept in a way to not be a doormat and not get that revenge.
And it's not being a doormat, because in that same, when Jesus says that, right, he also says, if you're sued in the court and your shirt is taken from you, give your coat too. If a soldier demands that you carry his gear for a mile, carry it 2 miles. which means is when I was reading this, I was like, it's not even about it has never been about giving back the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's about giving more, and not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's actually in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, and the same things. And in that, it's not for us to take revenge. It's not for us to do that, but for that to be God. Because as it says in Psalms, it says, "Rise up, O Yahweh, deliver me. Oh my God, for you strike all my enemies on the cheek. The teeth of the wicked you break. To Yahweh belongs deliverance. May your blessing be over your people." Selah. And again, it's not for us to take justice. We don't, as we said, we all had different types of justice, the way we would go according to it. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're all humans. We're not perfect.
Right.
But his justice will always be perfect.
Right.
And it's his justice that we need to seek. Once we seek that justice, once we understand what the justice is letting him be the one and not be us. Because he's the one that's going to take care of everything. We don't give the consequences. We don't do none of that. That's not for us to do. That's not for us to give. That's something that God takes care of.
Yeah, and it's not like we can't collaborate with God in doing justice.
Yeah, that's what we need to know, his justice.
Yeah. I mean, in the podcast that I was listening to, they highlighted like Martin Luther King Jr. as one person who really took like turn the other cheek phrase and applied it during his time period with all of those nonviolent acts to seek justice for all the African Americans. And that's what he did. He was seeking justice in a way that still sought value for the white Americans as well, and for like all the Americans. He wasn't trying to hurt them. He was just trying to see. He was just trying to make them see, like reevaluate who they are. Like, I am a man too. I am an American too. I am a woman too. Like,
yeah, it's always about reevaluating yourself and actually seeing it is, like you said, like I said earlier, who's gonna cast that first stone? None of us. None of us are perfect. None of us are perfect enough to do that. We have never been in a status that we can do that, and we never will. And the one person that had that status, what did he do? He gave it all.
Yep.
He gave it all for us, which goes again to what I was saying, is giving more. It's never about giving less or giving the same, but it's always about giving more. If they ask you for, carry my gear for 1 mile, no, I'm gonna carry for 2 miles. If you want to strip away of my clothes, I'm gonna give you my coat too. It's always giving more. It's that love is that, because justice is love, and it's always giving that love the way you can do it.
Yeah, and I feel like Paul in one of his letters in 1 Thessalonians, he said something like instead of paying evil with evil, pay evil with good, and don't grow tired of doing good.
Yes.
And that can be very difficult, but it just goes with just that, like that true justice right there.
Yes.
Instead of trying to get that revenge or being a doormat, like offer that opportunity for the other person to reevaluate you. And instead of resisting, like, and seeking justice in the way that the world probably would, don't resist in kind. Like, don't do it in the same way that they did it. Do it with goodness.
Kill him with kindness.